Whoa. Hello, hello. Sorry, I'm just trying to set up like a fucking... Because it's dark here, there's no light. I'm trying to set up something to hold the phone. Fuck. One sec. Good morning to all of you, wherever you are in the world. It's probably night for a lot of you. How's that? How's the light? Fuck! No, I'm going to hold it for a sec and I'm going to put my coffee cup there. Let me drink this. Talk to me about the light. Is that good enough? Good to see all of you. The sun will rise in about half an hour, 40 minutes. So, how's it going? It's going great. Thanks for asking. Sunday, I'm not training today, catching up with some friends. It's good, man. I'm on my balcony right now. Where should I ride this morning? Beach Road or Dandenong? Well, it depends what you want to do, dude. Beach Road's pretty good this morning, you know. I would fucking come riding with you on Beach Road this morning. I'm not riding until the start of next month out that way. You know what I mean? But I do love Beach Road. It really just depends on what type of riding you want to do. I do like Dandenong on a fucking Sunday. They're equally, you know, Dandenong's also busy on a day like today. It just depends, man. You know what a good question is? How are you going to get there? How are you going to get there? How many kilometers are you going to do? And then I'll give you my verdict. Fully recovered now. I'm pretty recovered, bro, to be honest with you. Like mentally, I'm still a bit, I wouldn't say traumatized, but mentally, you know, I'm still a bit like, my desire to do physical activities is still a bit less. Not as bad as it was last week. Hunger, like my hunger's come around a lot, you know what I mean? I'm not as hungry as I used to be, partially because it's time removed from the event and I've put on a substantial amount of body weight. You know, leading into the event, I was quite thin. During the event, I was quite thin relative to my own standards, you know, so just allowing myself to put on a few kilos and just enjoy myself, and not enjoy myself as in splurge, as in if I'm hungry, just keep fucking eating. Even if I know that my physical hunger and my mental hunger, they're two different things that aren't matched up, you know, even answering that mental hunger, allowing myself to do that's okay, you know, especially I'm conscious of the fact that I know I got training lined up for the next long period of time, you know, so, I mean, once you're in the training, I mean, the weight does come off, so it's nice to enjoy myself for a while. Doing the Southampton Marathon tomorrow, what are your recommendations for nutrition height? Well, I've never done a marathon, so I really can't give you any, I'm really not the person to ask for this, and it's completely different to the bike, because I feel like, well, I think it's going to be largely dictated by your pace and your fitness. I mean, the more fit you are, the less you need to eat. The more, basically, because the more efficient you are, you're burning less calories. But also, running's more. There's so much more stress. Not stress. I'm saying it's such more of a loaded activity. You know what I mean? Your whole body's moving, so the food's going to look different. Like, I can't imagine what it'd be like to run a marathon and trying to be chewing down Cliff Bars and stuff. So I imagine the food's more gels, liquid stuff. Whilst it's on the bike, I could eat a fucking sandwich, dude. I could eat a meal, depending on the pace, obviously, you know. So I'm not really the person, but I'm assuming it's going to be a lot of liquid. I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take you to run a marathon, but I couldn't see you upsetting your stomach if you're eating gels and liquid. Too much, stop starting on Beach Road. You know, Matthias, that's my problem with Beach Road, bro. But I used to go to Beach Road real early. Like, I mean, like, I'll be on Beach Road now, and then the lights are way better. If you go, oh man, dude. You know, I used to go out sometimes during the week, and then stupidly come back like when peak hour traffic was building up, like come back 7:30 or something. Like I'd be on the way back down from 7:30 from Frankston, and it just kills it, man. Because you're trying to hammer it on the way home, and it's just light, traffic. It's cool because the traffic kind of acts like it kind of sucks you along. So you can go real quick. You know what I mean? You probably experience it too when the traffic's going back towards the city. You can go like so fast, but I do enjoy Dandenong. It's much more quiet, much more peaceful. Less people on the way, I guess. It feels a lot safer too, man. After birthday shenanigans, have a good one. Shout out to you, enjoy the birthday shenanigans. Good seeing you. Hi Abdullah, will you race TCR number 6? Is that this year? I'm not doing anything this year. So if that's this year, I'm not doing anything. You know, I got some ideas for next year, but I'm not going to speak on them too soon. Bruh, you know, I'm always getting hit with the Dalton. Shout out to you, brother. I mean, this is a big question, bro. It sounds like it's got a lot of questions within this. Have you changed personalities-wise from high school? Obviously. Have your values changed? Obviously. Interest? Obviously. Tips for young people? My tips for young people is the nature of human beings is to evolve over their experience. And you can't... School doesn't really... I mean, when you leave school, it's kind of like they try and put you in a box, bro, and it kind of shortchanges that natural process of human evolution to always be changed. Nothing's ever static, man. Nothing's ever static, you know what I mean? So to try and shortchange yourself, lie to yourself, put yourself in this box and expect never to change, I mean, it's kind of sad in that sense, man. I mean, you're expected to change all the way up until you're at that point, you know what I mean? No one's expecting you to be the same as you were when you were a child. I mean, no one's saying, why are you still shitting your pants? You know what I mean? So, like, there's this evolution that's encouraged up to a certain point, but then once you get beyond that certain point, it's kind of discouraged. Largely because the people that are discouraging you are in the position where they made that choice. That's where they're coming from, to stay in the same position. So be wary of that. But also, bro, I don't think it's something that you're going to wake up and put your finger on straight away and say, I want to be this, I want to do that, I'm going to do that, you know, and you're going to wake up one day and just know the mysteries of the universe, and you're going to know your place in it, you're going to find your place in it straight away. But that's the beauty of it, man, that it's continuously changing, continuously evolving, and you've got basically a lifetime to ride out this journey. And all you got to do, dude, all you got to do is be a fucking good cunt. And that's what's exciting about it. You just be a good cunt with good intentions, which should be reflected through your actions. There's no point in having good intentions and acting like a cunt. Have good intentions, act in a good way, and do what you feel is best at the time. I mean, I said this in the last stream, dude. Especially for me, I'm not claiming to know what's correct, but at least for me, man, at least for me, just do what you feel is right at the time, man. You can't foresee the future too much. Obviously, there's a bit of planning in terms of being financially stable. But if you're hardworking, good intentions, just a good human being, I mean, you're valuable you're valuable, you know what I mean? You're valuable because you're hardworking and you're a good human being. You've got good work ethic. You take pride in what you do, doing things correctly, have good intentions, and don't worry about it too much, bro. I mean, the time you spend worrying about it is time taken away from actually experiencing life at the given time. And then you get on the constant cycle of preparation, where you're climbing the ladder and you never actually take a step off of it, which is quite sad, which a lot of people do. So just do what you feel is right at the time. Which sounds ambiguous and vague and non-sexy, but I mean, sometimes that's the hardest thing to do, bro. And you don't need to know, man. You don't need to know. I mean, you give this experience meaning, man. No one else can give it meaning, only you give it meaning, you know? And that's something for you to find out. Shouts to you, bro. But don't worry about it, man. It's not something you should worry about. You're only worrying about it because it's just this, like, it's set up that way. You know what I mean? Saying Muay Thai, pleasure to see you, brother. Fill me on how things are. Thoughts on university education, waste of time? You know, I don't think university education is a waste of time. I think university is a tool. And, you know, It's just a tool, man. It's a waste of time for some people, for sure. And for some people, it's a vital part of their career in which they want to do. So it's definitely not a waste of time. It's really just depends on the individual situation. I just see that there's so many lives I could live, and I'm afraid to reach the end of my life wishing I chose another route. You're definitely going to end up like that if you sit there worrying about all the possible things you could be doing versus what you aren't doing, bro. The best thing you can do is do what you feel like right at the time and just fucking enjoy it. And then if you feel like you outlive that to the point where it's not making you feel a certain type of way, then you move on. You know what I mean? Allow yourself to evolve, bro. It's completely natural, dude. It's completely natural. What you're doing right now is not natural. Sitting there worrying about all these potential things that you could be doing and wasting your life away. That's not natural, man. Your life is meant to be lived, dude. And that's all I got to say for you, man, eh? Did you like Avicii's music? Yeah, I mean, I know Avicii. I mean, I'm not too up to date on his music, but I'm a fan of all music if it's, good, I guess. Hey, I mean, I don't sit there and listen to that type of music, but I don't think it's bad. What's your guilty pleasure, man? I don't really have a guilty pleasure, brother. I try not to feel guilty about anything, really. You're talking about in terms of food? It's not Sunday morning. Don't start, G. Don't start. I disagree. Tell me what you disagree on, bro. I try not to feel guilty. Well, what's the point of feeling guilty about stuff, man? Especially if you consciously choose to do it. I mean, why would I feel guilty? Bro, are you still lifting? Of course. It's Saturday afternoon. Shout outs to you, Connor. I mean, shout outs to the time zones, bro. I mean, we live in a day and age where I can communicate you on Sunday on my time and it's Saturday your time. What's your biggest beta male trait? I'm not going to answer that question. I don't even know what beta male, I don't even know what that even means. I probably should find out what beta male means, but this alpha male, beta male shit, like I don't even know, dude. They're words I just don't even bother with, man. Really don't want to become a fat cunt, John Doe. I mean, at this point, it's a bit of a. I'm weary. As by now, bro, you shouldn't be concerned about becoming a fat cunt. I mean, you should from training for years. I mean, you should have outgrown that fear of being fat, and your training really shouldn't just be set up so you don't become fat. It should be set up so you can be a healthy human being and live a quality life, and it should give you the clarity of mind to navigate through your life and find your place in it. It shouldn't just be a I have to train so I don't get fat. That can set you up for big problems, man, and that can limit your progress. Trust me, it can limit your progress because you end up doing too much, man. You end up doing too much because you don't want to get fat. You won't do what you need to do to progress. You'll do what you need to do to burn the most amount of calories and not become an obese cunt. You know what I mean? So, that's trouble for a lot of people. Some people only need to train four times a week, where they train 7 days a week because they're scared. So shout outs to you. But it could be into a number of things. It's kind of hard to answer in such a question like that because, you've been training for years. Years can mean anything. You could have been training for 10 years, G. And, how quick do you really expect to make progress naturally? It comes down to a lot of factors, bro. Like, obviously, like your programming. Obviously, your food. Obviously, your sleep. Programming, food, sleep, things like that, obviously, I would take a step back and look at and see how well they're being programmed and how well you're executing on those factors that really set you up to make gains. And then, I'd be realistic about my genetic. At that point, genetics should. It's not like you think I don't have good genetics to make progress, but it should be something you can look at from an emotionally removed standpoint and say, look at yourself and say, what is my kind of potential in this lifting? And that shouldn't discourage you, but it should kind of give you a sense of how much progress you can make at this point in your lifting career. Because I don't think many people make progress after 10 years naturally. I mean, look at people who are 10, 12, 13 years naturally lifting. They, you know, unless they've gone from eating no food to eating all the food, or they've made some huge change where they were making mistakes for 9 years, their physiques for the last few years have been pretty good, man. Look at all the top natural bodybuildings. I mean, from like year 7 onwards, I mean, they're making micro gains. So you might just have unrealistic expectations. But I would check out all those main driving factors that fuel performance and muscular development before I would come to that conclusion that, you know, it's a pretty slow race from here. You know, it's a pretty slow race from here. Do you train to failure in the gym? I don't train to failure in the gym anymore. That's a great question. You know, for the first few years, I really did train to failure, but it's not really necessary anymore. And personally, for me, I don't find it hard to train to failure. I find that quite easy. For me, I find it harder to be methodical. I find it harder to leave a few reps in the tank, and that's kind of for a lot of people, man, who start to training to failure. All they know is failure. They don't know leave 2 reps in the tank. So really, not training to failure for me was an evolution of understanding that I'm training for a long period of time, my whole life. And energy management, understanding that you're going to be training tomorrow, or you're going to be training the day after tomorrow, and understanding you're going to be training for the next 10 years, really kind of gives you that perspective like, dude, I don't really need to be training to failure. What I need to be doing is coming in here, doing quality work over a long period of time, and just doing what I need to do to improve. You know what I mean? I don't need to be fucking doing some Jay Cutler, Dorian Yates shit my whole life. I mean, we're going to be training for 30, 40 years, man. 50 years. 60 years. You know, God willing, that's the situation. So I'm concerned about making progress. And as it stands, you don't need to train to failure to make progress. You might need to train to failure to make yourself feel like a sick cunt, but that's a disorder. You know? You might need to train to failure to make yourself feel like you're worthy. Like cool, like the hardest dude in the gym. You work harder than everybody else. Well, I can find a million people who say the same fucking line, and it's a disorder. You know, so I do what I need to do to improve. What do you do on days when you feel like nothing means anything? Not necessarily depressed for days where you're like, what is it? What's it all for? I mean, you know, I have days like that, bro, where like, but I mean, I think that's just the nature of life itself. Is that sometimes, I mean, things do feel like there's no meaning, you know, but for me, it's just, I'm always reminded that you give it meaning, you know. It's all on you, dude. You give things meaning. If you think something's meaningless, then it is meaningless. You perceive it as meaningless, you know, so you give everything meaning, man. You're really in control of that. That belief will shape your reality in terms of what you believe to be meaningless will become meaningless, man. How often do you lose your temper? I lose my temper, not that much though. I mean, it depends. I probably lose my temper quite a lot, but it might look different to how you think. I mean, I'm not throwing a hissy fit running around. But it really depends on the situation. I mean, last time I lost my temper, I'm trying to think, like, when I really was like, fuck, dude, I went too far there. There was one time training for the Indy Pack, I got really upset. I did get really upset. Maybe for like 5-10 minutes, man. But I'm like anybody, man. I get angry all the time. I feel emotions all the time. I mean, do I run around punching shit, screaming and shit? Fuck no, just because, you know, it's easy to get angry, man. It's easy to get angry, and it's just too easy, and it can really fuck you up, you know what I mean? For me to chill, you know, it takes some time, man. I don't want to ruin my day by just having a big spike of cortisol and all these fucking emotions, man. It's just the physical response of being angry is terrible. So, you know, I try and limit that as much as I can. Sometimes, like anybody, sometimes you just go full retard and it doesn't really work out well. But I don't really find myself in situations that make me angry anymore. I mean, I'm sure I would get angry a lot more if I was in situations that cause that. I mean, I don't work a job I don't like, so I don't have that stress. You know, I enjoy my relationship, so that doesn't really stress. I'm like anybody with a relationship, though. Sometimes it can be frustrating, but for the large part, it's not. It's this like dynamic thing that I enjoy a lot. So there's really not really many factors in the day that can make me angry. I'm like in my own bubble, bro, in the sense that, you know, yeah, like there's just not that many points that can make me angry. Like if I was doing something I didn't enjoy, I was at work with, you know, chumps and cunts, you know, it'd be a bit different. Sorry for the swearing, but I mean, it is what it is. Top 5 books with self-development. You know, I don't read. You know, I don't read. I'm not anti-reading. I just don't read. So you're gonna have to ask somebody else. Yeah. I mean, self-development. You know, a quick chat on self-development books. I think they're great, even though I don't really read self-development books. But the thing with reading is, I mean, I would be cautious. Not cautious not to read, but I'd be cautious to make sure I'm living, just not reading, because I feel like, you know, you can get doped up on the reading to a certain degree, especially with self-development. I don't see people getting doped up on the like on the mystical stories at night. You know, like reading for 2 hours before they go to bed. I see people getting doped up on the this self-development, and they become like, you know, kind of libraries of self-development. And you talk to them, and really they say stuff they don't understand. They say stuff they don't believe. They say stuff that's not even in the vicinity of their reality yet. You know, so I'm all for reading, but I'm also all for application. So I think you just have to make sure that when you read, if you feel like something's profound, I mean, you execute on it and you apply it in the real world. I mean, that's what knowledge is for, you know, especially in that sense, is application. It shouldn't just kind of like make you feel like you've done something just because you've read a quotation. If you're looking for help, or you're looking for some sort of guidance and development, the only way to really develop is to really put it into practice, you know, and understand that you're really the master of it. I mean, people can give you ideas, people can give you inspiration, people can tell you lessons, you can read some extremely profound stuff, but it does not become a part of you until you've practiced it. It's just words. Or you've executed on it. Or what I'm trying to say is, until you've applied it, it's nothing. How to win friends and influence people. First of all, I would not say win friends at all. I mean, it sounds fucked up saying win friends. I mean, people should befriend you, and you should befriend. It should be a natural process. This idea of finding friends and finding a girlfriend and winning people over. I mean, okay, if we're talking outside of some sort of like, you know, business relationship where you're trying to make connections and shit, even though I wouldn't even get into that, but I'm talking about just like in terms of people you want to chill with and that are going to provide you with a beneficial relationship for your life. Winning friends is not something you need to do at all. Inspiring people, okay. That's if you just want to be inspiring, bro, you just do what you feel is what you just feel. You just do what you do, and let that speak for itself. aka leading by example. You know what I mean? People, you know, that inspires people the most. Words don't inspire people that much. I mean, actions inspire more than anything. People being able to see it makes it a reality for them, because people believe with their eyes, even though there's more to it than that, obviously. But people really do believe with their eyes. So once they see it, it becomes a reality for them. But in terms of winning friends, I wouldn't get into that. I wouldn't get into that, man. You shouldn't have to do that, bro. Observing life is all you need to do. It really is. It really is. Just be observant. Just watch. Just have your eyes open. You know, you've got the gift of sight between two eyes and more. you know, so you can really learn a lot from just watching yourself. Doesn't mean you have to always be thinking about it, but just be mindful of it. Be mindful of it. And it can really help you. It can really help you along the way. Otherwise, you'll be stuck in the same fucking circles the whole time. Emotional circles, spiritual circles. You'll physically play out in the circles that you operate in daily life, you know. So, just watch out, eh? It's just about being vigilant, you know. It's just about being vigilant. It's not like you walk around all the time like you're observing yourself from a third person, but you know what I mean. James Joyce, pleasure to see you, bro. I think I was stalking you last night on Instagram. How many exercises do you do for muscle group? I switched to a minimalist 1 to 2 exercise per group training routine, but seems to only work for the genetically gifted. Okay, Dalton, bro. What you need to do is different to everybody else. I mean, the genetically gifted thing, get rid of that word. Get rid of the genetically gifted. I mean, you're pretty gifted for your own. Like, if I showed you what genetically deficient looked like, you're not genetically deficient. You know, I know some people, dude, maybe like one person in my whole life so far who I've met through lifting, which is a lot of people, who has terrible genetics. I guarantee you, bro, you're like a Jay Cutler compared to that dude. So you have good genetics, man. You have good genetics. I mean, bad genetics is like you got Down syndrome. That's like getting the bad luck of the draw, you know? But obviously, bro, the amount that you respond to weight training is different to everybody, and you just have to find an amount that works to stimulate the muscle growth. Now, obviously, there's a point where it's like, if your chest isn't responsive and just genetically your chest isn't going to get there as much as you want, I mean, there's only so much you can do about that, but that might not be you. You know, it really is dictated by how long you've been training. It's really dictated, and what you've been doing, you know. Because sometimes it's not just about adding more volume. So it really depends, man. Obviously, the muscle groups that you want to improve and you don't have good genetics, even if you do have moderate genetics or whatever, you do need to add more volume to them. They need more work. But it just becomes different how long you've been training. Like, obviously, the longer you've been training, you can't just do a lot on every single body part. You need to prioritize it. So it might just be a matter of prioritizing your volume, dude. Like, if you've been training for 6-7 years and you want big biceps and you want big arms, it's kind of hard to get big arms, big chest, big back, big legs, all within within the training confines, within a training cycle. You know, it needs to be periodized, and you have to at least, you know, have the strength to put some stuff on the back burner and let other things progress at that time. James Mesh, pleasure to see you, brother. I've never dabbled in calisthenics beyond a fucking push-up and pull-up, man. I have Down syndrome and can't gain any muscle. Shout out to you, Fanex. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having... I mean, I'm assuming you're joking. But even if you aren't joking, I mean, God bless you. Bro, the apex of life isn't gaining muscle. I mean, I think that could help a lot of people. I mean, there's more to life than gaining muscle. Training is a critically important tool for you to be able to move through life, okay? Any form of training. It's just an act of discipline and being in there and self-mastery. That's important, right? But this result of being, like, extremely muscular is not going to make you feel the way you want to fucking feel. It's quite contrary. Do you know what I mean? So just remember that. You know what I mean? Because most of us just want the same thing. Most of us just want to feel a level of peace that we don't feel yet. You just want to find your place in it, and you don't know how to find your place in it. And sometimes you have this unrealistic expectation that, you know, if I have a six-pack and I have a vein down my fucking arm and I look kind of good, then maybe I will find my place in it. But it's not the case, okay? There's a difference between being obese and being healthy, and there's a difference between being obese and being healthy and then being extremely lean and muscular. Shout out to you, Dave C. I appreciate the comment, brother. tips on leaning out when you have a stupidly large appetite. Well, appetite's largely trainable, dude. So, you know, I'm just kind of generalizing for you. People say they have a large appetite. They usually, it's not like they eat small meals. They eat big fucking meals, you know, to satisfy that appetite. So a large part of reducing your appetite is just over time reducing the size and portion sizes of your meals. Do you know what I mean? And eating lower volume foods and just kind of, you know, that's how it works, man. It's like if you diet and you eat less food, your stomach shrinks. If you bulk and you eat large meals, your stomach expands. And that's what you get used to. It's like a trainable thing. So slowly bring it down over time, man. I mean, don't be sitting there drinking 2 liters of soda and like 25 kilos of broccoli just to get full. It's not going to help you in the long run, you know? It's not going to help you in the long run at all. Just make food choices that promote the appetite, just a balanced appetite, not something ridiculous where you need to eat 5,000 calories in a meal to get full. I mean, usually for most people, that's a product of their eating habits. It's not something natural to wake up and just be like, I want to eat that much food in a meal. It's being over-focused on food, doing too much dieting, and practicing this habit of eating large meals at one time. As a cyclist trying to gain a few kilos for cycling performance, how much calorie surplus alongside weight training is necessary? Do you have any tips for endurance and resistance training? Well, at a certain point, dude, they're complete opposite ends of the spectrum. Now, if you were a track sprinter trying to gain muscle versus going out and do 25 hours a week, it's completely different, you know what I mean? Because they're completely different energy systems. So, at a certain point, you're going to be stuck with, you're going to be getting pulled too much this way and too much this way, you get left in the middle. But I think, you know, it's definitely feasible to think that someone who cycles, you know, just like generally, unless you're like a pro fucking athlete doing 35, 40 hours a week, can gain a bit of muscle. The number one thing I would say to you, dude, you're probably going to have to eat a bit more than you would like just because you're doing a lot of cardio. And it's just about having a structured weight training program, man, on the muscles that you want to develop. So have a structured weight training program on the muscles you want to develop, and then be conscious of how much you're eating. Yeah, 16 to 20 hours a week is quite a lot. You won't find many people in the gym who do 20 hours cardio a week and are trying to physically develop at a high rate. I mean, you can be scientific about it. I mean, you can say, you know, there's 3,500 calories in a pound or whatever. You can start doing those kind of things and try and work out how much you need to gain, how much you want to be in a surplus per fucking day or whatever. But, you know, you could be, depending on your development, man, you could be in 300 calorie surplus, 500 calorie surplus. It really depends on the development. But at a certain point, what I will say for the calorie surplus, at a certain point, it doesn't make a difference. Like, there's only a level at which you're going to progress. And eating more calories won't necessarily increase that rate. So going from like a 500 calorie surplus or whatever, I'm not sure if this is the actual figure, right? You might have to look into the science. But there comes a point where just adding calories isn't going to increase your performance at a faster rate. You're already making it as fast as you can. And now all you're doing is just accumulating body fat at a higher rate, you know? So it's just maximizing that rate, but there's no need to go beyond it in terms of eating. But I would start more conservative. Just pay attention to your weight training program and your progress. And then start conservative on the count. You can start with 300 calorie surplus. See how that goes. Track your body weight, track your progress. I mean, and then you just play it by ear and adjust. Not by ear, by the numbers, and you adjust. That's probably the best way to do it. For some people, that's different, man. Some people weigh themselves every day, then take a 7-day average and see the trend over a month, whilst they track their food every day. That's quite an intense method. But extremely accurate. And if it's not affecting you emotionally doing that, then it's a great way to do it. Sometimes I think things happen for a reason. Well, they do happen for a reason, bro. You can think of it as a mystical thing, or you can think of it as a literal thing just based on your choices. Do you know what I mean? Like, this stream's happening because I woke up, and it wouldn't happen if I didn't wake up. So it's happened for a reason, and the reason is I woke up. Or you can think of it as something more divine and more mystical, dude. It literally, you can justify it on every level. You ever work running into your training? What do you mean, brother? You mean work and then go train? Or you mean work interrupting training? Fill me in, G, fill me in. Oh, no, I don't run. I don't run. You know, I run for a while. I thought it was enjoyable, but I don't run. Have you heard about Joe Delaney slagging you off in his latest video? No, I haven't, bro. What are your favorite exercises you swear by? Mine are dips and deadlifts. I swear by exercises I enjoy doing for a long period of time. You know what I mean? So if I told you a preacher code something I swore by, it's going to sound funny, but it is. What's your best? How should I? Okay, what's your best 20-minute power, 10-minute power in a bike? I've never done 10-minute power. I've done 20-minute power. My best 20-minute power is 385 watts. I'm quite heavy though, so it's not like some ridiculous professional number. Like I was probably like 92 kilos, 93 kilos when I did 385 watts for 20 minutes. But I was in real great shape for those efforts. That's what I was training to do. Nothing really long. I could easily do it again with some, you know, a specific training block to get back there, but it was very specific to those efforts, man. How many calories should I count due to increasing metabolism from cardio? Well, man, sometimes it goes up and then drops off. Like, what I'm trying to say is the fitter you get, the more efficient you get, the less calories you actually need, especially less than you think, you know? So it's not just a random number that I can just throw out there. I mean, you just have to track it and pay attention to it, and you'll know, man, because you're either going to be losing weight, you're going to be gaining weight, you're going to be maintaining weight. It's just dictated by the number on the scale. And how you feel, obviously how you feel is a huge factor. Jess doesn't study nursing, she's a qualified nurse. She did study nursing. When you started training, did you ever have trouble getting mind-muscle connection working in proper form? I constantly get into my head while lifting. I second-guess form consistently. Well, yeah, I think when you start training, you know, that's quite normal. Like, you're kind of over-conscious of the form, and that's completely normal. I mean, that drops off over time because it just becomes a mechanical thing. Like, the motor pattern is so ingrained within your nervous system, it's just like, boom, you just do the lift. Those pathways are there. So it's just like doing anything new, and to become good at it, it takes a very, very long time before it becomes like a subconscious thing that you don't have to think about it no more. So that's fine, bro. Good on her, tough job. Yeah, being a nurse is a tough job, you know. I respect nurses a lot, you know. Shout out to you, pedals and plants. Shout out to, where was the question, man? Ishmael, you know, shout out to you, brother. I mean, I think you're onto it, man. Jess grew up in Singapore. What's up, lad? How's your weekend going? My weekend's going good, bro. It's Sunday here. Just been chilling, man. I haven't been doing much. I had work during the week. I didn't work this much on the weekend. I didn't work much on the weekend, but I worked during the week. So I've just been relaxing, bro. Really. You know, I'm not really training that much. I'm not really training that much this month. I mean, I'm probably training 5 days a week, but I mean, on the bike and stuff, not really training. So, you know, I've been lounging quite a bit, but it's enjoyable. I go for a walk, lounge, eat, talk to some people, shit like that. It's been enjoyable. What's the worst injury I've ever had to recover from? The worst injury I've ever had is I broke my hip. But this is years ago. Like, this isn't something in the recent past. When I was younger, I broke my hip, and that was quite fucking traumatic to recover from. You know, just because the recovery is just brutal, man. Like, it probably took me a good fucking 6 months to feel comfortable walking again, like normally. You know, I had to sit in hospital for like 3 months, dude, laying on my back, and I couldn't turn, like I couldn't move, you know what I mean? I had to have my leg completely flat, tied down to the edge of the bed, flat, you know, like pissing and shitting into it, pissing in a cup, shitting in a fucking pan. That was, you know, but I was real young, man, so I was kind of like, didn't really affect me, man. Like, I was just like, this is time off school. I mean, it was definitely challenging, but being on your fucking back for 3 months, but I don't know, man. If I try and think about it, it didn't seem too bad. But then after that, I had to stay home for a while in a wheelchair and then learn how to walk and shit like that. But that was kind of a hard injury to get over. But apart from that, nothing really. Like, I've broken a few arms and a few wrists. But it's never been, in recent years, man, it's never been anything major. Thank God, you know what I mean? Like, it's just been quiet. It's been quite good. I don't really do anything extreme, you know, to warrant getting an injury. You know, if I get an injury, it's probably got hit by a car or something, so. It's not like I'm jumping off cliffs and doing crazy shit, like putting myself in line to get an injury quite often, which I try not to do, man. You know what I mean? I don't want to get an injury, man. Yeah, I did see that whole Callum Von Moger thing, man. I mean, it's terrible, dude. I mean, a part of me is like, man, dudes who are on the shit get injured so often. But at the same time, I was looking at the accident. It was going to be a freak accident, dude, and it could have blown all our kneecaps off, you know what I mean? So, happy Sunday, Molly, thank you. Cardio definitely interferes with building muscle. I mean, the opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of energy systems and their requirements. Do you know what I mean? So, there's going to be a level in terms of the amount of cardio you do will interfere with your training. Do I think that level is what the average gym rat thinks? No. I mean, the average gym rat thinks that if he fucking does like 20 minutes of cardio a day, he'll die. Like, they don't even want to walk. Some of them. Because they're just like focused on the gains, eh? But it definitely does interfere. Can you talk a bit about... Okay, let me go up and I'll answer your question, brother. Did you stop at the servo where Mike was filmed with the clocks and other places? Were you very aware of the time during the race now after? I did stop at the servo where... I actually slept at that servo with Mike with the clocks. I slept... It's not as... If you're talking about this service station with Mike and the clocks, I think you're talking about Balladonia. I slept there. And I had a great sleep there. I had a fucking great sleep there, dude. They had some good food. I had a great sleep. I had a shower. I watched an episode of House. It was a bit ridiculous, to be honest with you. You know, like... and then I had a nice breakfast with Stefan the next morning. Because when I woke up, Stefan was out the front. I was like, fuck, man, Stefan's here. He was like... I was going to leave. I was going to leave before it opened, you know, like I woke up at like, the shop opened at like 7 and I was cruising out at like 6:15 and I was like, I'm not waiting for fucking 45 minutes for this shit to open. You know, I had like a litre of water and I had just drank a coffee in the room. So I saw Stefan, I was like, yo, go, I was like, go sleep and have a shower in the room. You know, you don't have to check out to 11. But then I rolled down the street. I rolled down the street and then I saw that it was that 90 miles straight. It's about 100 and something, 80 Ks or whatever. And I was like, I can't do 180 Ks on no food. Like, it's just a bit risky, you know what I mean? So I turned back and I just waited 45 minutes and had breakfast with Stefan and then I kept rolling. It was actually a great idea. You did the Indie Pack this year, right? I read it was cancelled. So what was the unofficial Indie Pack? So it was the unofficial Indie Pack, correct? How many of the regular competitors participated? Well, I think there was like 70 something on the list and about 50 did it. So there was only 20 people who didn't do it. But to be honest with you, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I think the 20 people who dropped out is a bit of a joke, man. I mean, dropping out because you feel like it's unsafe is different to dropping out because you think it's not going to be competitive. Chances are if you dropped out because you think it wasn't going to be competitive, you weren't going to be competitive. That's the brutal truth. That I don't really know anyone who dropped out who would have been competitive. I mean, it's very easy to say that you're not doing it because it's not going to be competitive. But if we just look at the times that the people crossed the country in this year, they were pretty fucking competitive compared to last year, man. I mean, just taking a step back and looking at the top 5, if you look at those times compared to the progress that people were making last year, it's almost the same exact fucking thing. You know, so it's definitely a cop-out. And it's not really disrespectful to everyone who did it. I think it's just disrespectful to yourself to allow yourself to actually believe that you're not doing it because it's not going to be competitive enough for you. It's just like, dude, it's like a fucking personal time trial across the country. It's like, what kind of psychotic illusion are you under that how fast that you're really going to be, like your performance is going to be limited by how fast I'm going? Vegan Fly Trap, I completely agree with you, dude. I know it sounds brutal to say that these dudes were looking for an excuse, but I mean, you know, I can't 100% say that because, you know, people drop out for all sorts of reasons. Some people might have some family issues. Some people say financial burden might be too much. Legitimately might be too much. But I mean, there's obviously going to be a lot of people who just have this false expectation of what it actually is. That it's like some crazy fucking race where like dudes are like on wheels. Like, it's nothing like that, dude. Stefan, good to see you, brother. Someone was asking about how many people did the race versus the people who, you know, how many people didn't do the race after it was cancelled, and we were just talking about how, you know, chances are you weren't going to be competitive if you didn't rock up. Sorry to hear about your friend leaving. I mean, it's tragic. I mean, I hope you're doing okay. You know, Vince, I don't really pay attention to, you know, like, it's a great question. And to be honest with you, I'm not really sure about that kind of threshold where caffeine's going to have a negative effect on your cardio. Obviously, a certain amount of caffeine is going to improve the performance, man. It does, but there's obviously a limit where you're drinking too much caffeine. It has an effect on your performance and your overall life. but I'm not too sure at what point that is. I mean, I definitely notice within myself when I drink, there's a tipping point where it's like more coffee is not better. I don't check my heart rate at all, man. I don't check my heart rate at all, brother. I mean, sometimes I feel it, you know what I mean? Sometimes I feel it, but I never check it. To be honest with you, I don't want to check it. Otherwise, I'll start waking up every day and checking it and fucking comparing it and start, I'll have a graph on my wall of my average daily heart rate, like over a year. I don't want to check it, man. But I can feel it when it's elevated, man. Just by when I bend over and pick up a pencil, Or when I go for a walk, I feel a bit out of breath, or... I know that, like, just from observation when I'm, like, in training and I'm, like, doing quite a lot of training, like, I know that, like, my recovery's not that good, is, like, when I feel almost more puffed out walking than I do riding. Staying up late versus getting up early, what do you like more and why? I like getting up early, man. I like getting up early. I mean, if you're up for the same amount of time throughout the day, I mean, is it going to make that much of a difference? I don't know. I just like getting up early. I like seeing the sun rise. I like seeing the sun go down. I just feel like it tends to be a more natural process, at least for me. I don't think we leave the night. I like the light, bro. Don't be talking about my light. I have trouble getting a regular sleep pattern. Any advice? There's no advice. I mean, the advice is just get a regular sleep pattern. You develop the pattern by continuously doing it. You know what I mean, bro? Like, that's just it. You start. Is it important to have a regular sleep pattern? I would say so. Man. I don't think it's necessarily healthy every night. Even if you're getting a decent amount of sleep, I'm not sure, because it's not something I've really toyed with. I've always been a creature of habit in the sense that, like, for a large part of it, I've always gotten up at least at the same time. And it's just, I've done it for so long that it's just like, even on a fucking, like today, even on a Sunday, I don't need to get up at fucking 5 a.m. But I've done it for so many years, it just happens. So I'm a big fan of the sleep routine. Do you feel like your body works differently now? From the sleep? From sleeping and waking up early? From ride? Not really. Like, I haven't been training on the bike, so I don't really know. I've gone to work on my bike. I go to work on my bike, and it's hard to really know whether I've gotten a lot fitter. I'm assuming I have, just from doing long bike rides before and then having a bit of time off after, and then kind of like rebuilding your fitness into it. I know that there's going to be some gains associated with that. Obviously, I've lost a lot of muscle, but I feel like that's coming back at a rate which is kind of like, being a noob again, just because it was the longest period of time I've had off training since I was 17, since 16 really. So it's been quite a long time since I've had that much time off and, regressed that much. But that's about it. It's not like I walk around feeling like Superman, like I'm an extremely fit cunt now, but no, it's cool. No, I haven't really noticed that much, to be honest with you, other than just overall thinner. Not like leaner, just like same body fat, but thinner. If you wake up so early, what time do you go to bed? It varies, but not that much. It really depends on what I'm doing, man. Like I said, that time I wake up is always kind of the same. But at bedtime, I mean, if I'm in a routine of going to work, like, throughout the week, you know, sometimes I haven't even been in a routine for that long since uh, since I come back from the Indy Pack, you know what I mean? But even before the Indy Pack, I was training, so it's really irrelevant. But I'm just, you know, maybe 5 months before that, when I was deep in some work, at least during the week, not on the weekend, because I would go through the night on the weekend. But, you know, I go to bed at like 10 o'clock, 9:30 sometimes earlier, you know. Are you going to change your gym workout with more leg day? You know, lately I haven't done any leg days. I mean, I stopped doing leg days maybe a month out from the race. A month out from the race, I stopped doing leg days. Probably the first time in my whole life since I started training that I didn't do any leg days. You know, so, but I'll get back into them. I've done already a few, but I think they're beneficial. I'm not going to add more. I mean, I do twice a week. I think that's enough. Quite an amount of work during the workouts. So, but I think they're beneficial, man. What was your journey in getting involved in cycling as a serious hobby? I mean, cycling has never been a serious hobby for me, dude. It's never been a serious hobby for me. I mean, what do you define as serious? I mean, I've never really done cycling for more than a few months at a time. So it's been quite on and off. I would say it's never really been serious. I mean, the most consistent I had ever been was leading into that race. I've never really been in competitive cycling either. I mean, I've done a few criteriums. I'm not really a fan of them. That was probably like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. And then I just wanted to do this race. So it's never really been... I mean, now might be the beginning of the journey into competitive cycling. But before this, nothing really. I should start a gym workout. You should, Stefan, man. I mean, you've got strong legs already. But I mean, they would definitely be stronger with weight training. Any crazy dreams since you've been sleeping better, man? You know, last night I had a fucking crazy dream, and it was good, man, because the night before I didn't really sleep that well, you know. But I know better than to get upset if I can't sleep from not sleeping for so long. You know what I mean? So, but last night I had a crazy ass dream last night, man. Like last night, I forgot what I did before bed, but I knew, like, I was thinking of some cook shit before bed, man. Like I was laying in bed. Wasn't really that tired, but I was just really relaxed anyway. I was just trying to relax, man. I just remember in this dream, dude, it was pretty dope, man. I was in this dream, right? And I was like in the hallway, right? And I was talking to my friend Thomas. And we were doing I don't know what he was doing. He was doing some magic shit, right? And the next thing you fucking know, dude, this is sound hell cooked, dude. But the next thing you know, dude, this will sound so fucked up, dude. I like levitated through like the fucking roof of the house, and I was on top of my house building, and I was like, fuck, dude, I'm dreaming right now, dude. And then I just started flying around the neighborhood and shit like that. But I woke up pretty quickly. But I was like, you know, I don't know why I woke up hell quickly. I think I was just excited, because I haven't flown around my neighborhood in my dreams for quite some time, so it woke me up. But it was chilled, man. It's a good feeling. Why do dreams cut off for the best bit before it starts? Well, it depends if you're having a lucid dream or you're having just a regular dream. If your lucid dream's cutting off, it's probably because maybe you're getting too excited. You kind of have to really remain calm. But just a regular dream cutting off, cool. You know, it's hard to know because it's like, I don't know, man, with a regular dream. My regular dreams don't ever really get cut off too quickly. It's the only dreams that I'm conscious of cutting off quickly is when it's a lucid dream. They say dreams, no matter how long they feel, only last a few seconds. I mean, that's kind of crazy. In an unbelievable way, like, wow, that's insane to think that. Like, how magical. I love dreaming, bro, eh? I don't try and do some crazy dreams every night because it's demanding, to say the least. But I'm a fan of them. A big fan of them. Have you considered now doing shorter long rides, 24 to 72 hours? No. I haven't really thought about anything, bro, to be honest with you, Andy. I love your questions, Andy, by the way. You know, I'm going to start training next month. Get back into, getting back into, you know, some form of a routine with training at least. It's not going to look like crazy amount, but I'm sure towards the end of the year, I will go on, you know, a few 24-hour rides. You know, I do what I usually do, man. I'll probably ride to Adelaide. I'll probably do a 24-hour ride, you know, do a couple 24-hour rides. I really want to get a better 24-hour ride. Like, I mean, I really want to see how far I can push a 24-hour ride. It's hard to do with weather conditions, you know, but for the type of riding I enjoy doing, which is what I want to progress in, which is just endurance in the outdoors, not on the velodrome. I mean, I guess it is what it is. You're always subject to the weather. So, I mean, I've done a decent 24-hour time in kind of half good, half bad weather, because I did a loop, like down and then back. So yeah, but I would definitely like to revisit to improve the 24-hour outdoor time on the same loop. I'd definitely like to revisit a 48-hour, not like a 48-hour PB, but like just to see what it feels like to do two. Actually, I've already seen what that feels like, but I'd like to do another 48-hour, see what the 48-hour distance is with sleep. You know, because I've already done heaps of shit where I haven't slept, and you know, it's cool to know that you can do that, but I like a tiny bit of sleep. Yeah, I'd like to revisit those after I've done a lot of training, though. DMT is to thank for the dream. Shouts to DMT catalysing our fucking dreams. I do watch competitive cycling, just want to see the highlights on YouTube. I do enjoy it. Watching the whole fucking... No, not really. Did you ever want to be a model or competitive BB? Yeah, I did want to be a competitive bodybuilder, but that kind of died pretty quickly. Quickly as in a few years, but I'm still a fan of bodybuilding, bro. I'm quite a big fan of it. Like I keep up to date, man, with top natty bodybuilders and what's happening. You know, like I was a big fan of IFBB bodybuilding too. Going for the tarmac, so we'll see how the money goes, man. We'll see how the money goes. We'll see how the money goes, eh? It's a lot of money to save up. You know? See how the money goes. How's Tamas? Tamas is great. I'm actually seeing Tamas today in a couple of hours. You look like you like classic races like Paris-Roubaix and races like Belgium. I love this, man. I live in Belgium, so big here, huh? I like watching the highlights. I mean, I love old forms of bike racing, watching them. I don't really like watching the end of a criterium unless it's like some crazy breakaway where it's like one dude going for it. But I do like watching the tour and stuff like that. How much gains have you lost? Quite a bit. You know, I can't really put an accurate... I can only measure by what I look like and my strength, but it's quite minimal. I mean, quite a lot. The strength's coming back quick. The muscle fullness is coming back quick. So yeah, I mean, I'm not really concerned. Money for what? Jamal, we're talking about this new bike. We're talking about this new bike, man. We're talking about a new bike, man. It's quite expensive though. I don't really have the money. I don't really have the money. Well, I don't have. It's not like I don't really have the money. I don't have the money. Do I need it? No, not at all. But something to look down. It's a hard game, man. You know, buying new bikes and shit. I don't even know how it would feel about getting a really good bike and then having to train on it. I'd feel guilty, man. Like, just knowing that it's like cost me so much money and I'm like training on it. Like, I'd feel like, fuck, dude, is this thing gonna break? Like, come to Melbourne, bro. We'll go for a ride. We'll go for a ride. How did you develop discipline? Do you have any tools that help you exercise extreme discipline? Extreme is, I would remove the word extreme, you know, like, but there's, for me, training was, you know, if I'm just going to look at it outright, I would say training's the number one thing that helped me develop discipline. And it helped me develop discipline because no one was forcing me. I think that's key. That was something I did on my own accord. It wasn't like my mum was forcing me to train. I developed this real deep level of discipline because it was a choice that I was making every day to go to the gym that no one was forcing me to do. I was forcing myself to do it. You know, so I think that's key. There's a difference between doing your homework because the teacher's going to call your fucking mum, and there's a difference. There's a big difference, you know. So my adherence and compliance with that program, just of going to the gym every day, it was on my own accord, and that really developed a strong level of discipline. And then, you know, just little things day to day, bro, make the biggest difference. At least for me, and with my discipline. And I noticed that my discipline across the big stuff, at least, is at its highest. It's always high, but I mean, it's not even questionable when I'm making my bed, I'm doing the dishes correctly, I'm, you know, making sure the seat's up when I take a piss, stuff like that. Cleaning the cup correctly, you know. It's the easiest for me to execute on when all those things are in place. So you have several opportunities today to practice your discipline, man. Across all boards. You just have to pay attention to them and notice how they do have their place. I mean, they're not just trivial things that you can just overlook because, oh, it's just doing that, oh, it's just doing that. They're responsible for quite more than you think. So you have to be consciously aware of how these things play such a vital role, at least in the bigger scheme of the things you do. No, you don't. You don't need to be sitting there doing your fucking bed, cleaning your teeth, cleaning the cup, like knowing that it's a monumental fucking thing. You don't need to know. You don't need to be thinking about that while you're doing it. You just need to do it, you know. Did you feel bad losing gains? With the making gains and I gained confidence. I'm kind of scared about losing the gains. I've become so used to having gains and I feel my frame I can do. I know where you're coming from, dude, because I've been in the same position. But for me, at least, I gained the confidence. The confidence, I realized that the confidence wasn't in, I didn't gain, like there's a level at which you gain confidence because a part of your reasoning for training is the fact that you allow yourself to feel confident because you feel like the world is going to see you in a different light now because you're muscular. And it's this, at least for me, I'm not talking for you, it was this separated view on it. Do you know what I mean? Like, but for me, what really helped me kind of lose that fear was the fact that I had confidence in what I was doing, not in sense of, yeah, I'm gaining heaps of muscle, this is sick. It was a level of self-confidence that was developed through just the consistency of discipline of training, you know, and that hard work over a long period of time. That's where I found the confidence that sticked. relying, you know, like that level of confidence which is dictated by the size of your biceps is kind of temperamental. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like, at least from you, it's just the act of exercising this discipline and hard work over a long period of time for yourself is where you develop the confidence. In your ability to work hard, your ability to be resistant, your ability to all things that come along with that, you know. So you shouldn't be scared of losing muscle, bro. I mean, you shouldn't be scared of don't be scared, man. I mean, being scared is a terrible emotion to feel. You know what I mean? So don't ever be scared, dude. You know, try not to be. Obviously, there's some shit that's just outright scary, but I mean, scared of your physique changing is something, you know, there's other things that you could potentially be scared of that are more warranted, like losing a family member or something. Not losing inches off your bicep. Hey buddy, my bro Pete shouted out to you at Dumpling King. Can you shout him out? Shout out to Pete. What Dumpling King, bro? Fill me in. You at the airport. Adelaide one. What was I doing, bro? I got a shit memory, but shouts to Pete. Oh, I think I remember that, dude. I think I remember that. I was there with a couple of people, eh? Yeah, dude. The confidence comes from what you've done and doing. That whole process of action, actually acting on what you want to do. That's where the confidence is built, man. Saying like, yo, I want to go for a bike ride. Going and doing the fucking bike ride is what makes me confident. Not the number, not the I beat this dude, not the he saw me ride past him quick. That doesn't give me some sort of long lasting confidence. It might make me feel like a sick cunt for like 2 minutes, but it doesn't stick. What sticks is the fact that I actually went out there and did it, you know? At what point in the ride did you feel at your best? Could you get that feeling again, or is it just a moment in the event? Andy, it's hard to pinpoint. You know, it's just you know. I really felt, I think I felt my best about the event is when I had moments of overwhelming support. They were the most overwhelming moments in terms of, like, you know, it just felt really special at those times where I was shown the overwhelming level of support. They were the most enjoyable, in a sense. No, I wouldn't say enjoyable, but they were the most uplifting. Is when you were kind of couldn't understand the level of support. That was really a big moment for me, because there was plenty of moments where there was so much support I just didn't understand. I couldn't understand it. Like, I was just trying to understand why there'd be so much support for myself and all the other people too. It doesn't, you know, so that's like the most uplifting moment. And you kind of reminded of that every day. You know, you just check your phone once and you just people are like saying where you are. They're like, he's moved, he's doing this, you know, everyone's doing it, you know, people are messaging you. And I mean, those moments were amazing. But apart from that, I don't know, man. I think you just become really not emotionally numb throughout the day, but I mean, you're kind of just on this baseline emotionally where it's like you don't really drift too much underneath it or too much over it. Like if smiling and euphoria and a hit of serotonin were on the other side and like sadness was on the other side of this line, you kind of just sit in the middle of both of them as best as you can. Even when it's challenging, it's just challenging, but you're still right in the emotional baseline, you know? Brandon, pleasure to see you, brother. I didn't get any saddle sores. You know, I was showering every night. There was one night I didn't have a shower. My ass was on fire the next day, so I didn't have any saddle sores. I just showered and I slept naked. I showered and I slept naked, which was huge for me. If I was going to do it again, I'd shower and sleep naked. When I go cycling for long periods of time, I get stupid mantra and phrases stuck in my head and repeat in my head. Do you have any? And if so, would you share them? Well, it depends on the situation and what I'm dealing with at the time. So it's really situation dependent on that dialogue. If I'm talking to myself, is really situation dependent. But I'm just thinking. I don't really suffer, man. Especially on that ride, I don't really. At least, like, the self-dialogue never really gets out of hand. And if it does get out of hand, I would just remind myself that it's meaningless anyway. That can look different in what you tell yourself. It could be, you know, if I said to myself, I'm not my body, I'm not my mind, obviously a part of me is my body and is my mind. But that would just remind me that there's more going on, and that's not the only bit of me, and that my mind can be saying one thing and it doesn't even matter. Like, I can know what I want to do. Like, I can know that cycling is the correct thing. Like, I can be in the situation and know that the best thing for me to do and what I really want to do deep down is to keep going. And my mind could be telling me one thing that's contradictory to that. So, you know, if I told myself I'm not my body, I'm not my mind, if I was repeating that, it's just kind of like a reminder to me that it doesn't matter what my mind's saying, dude. It's really irrelevant what it's saying. It can be saying anything, man. But what's taking place is completely different. You know? So that really helps me. Well, it has helped me before. On the bike especially. That would kind of shut it down a little bit quick. That would kind of shut down the talk, the feedback pretty quick. Most of us deal with that anyway, man. We know, we're not actually saying those things, but I feel like most of us deal with the trappings of our mind anyway, in the sense that, you know, for all purposes, we know what we want to do. We have good intentions as to why we want to do them. And then when we come to do them, the biggest limiting factor is, you know, the voice in your head. And that's really debilitating for a lot of people. And it's unfortunate, you know, and it's just the nature of the beast itself. You can't really escape it. You have to learn how to tame it. You have to learn to understand it. You know, and once you understand its nature, it doesn't really have any weight it doesn't have any weight when you're observing it no more. The weight of it is, it goes from being this entire piece of you to being a response to what you're doing, which is, you know, a transition that makes you feel more free and allows you to do the things you know you want to do. Sleeping naked is a great feeling. I think, at least for me, it was just the air. Just that air. It sounds fucked up, but the air on the arse and the air all around those areas really helped. I'm telling you, one night I didn't have a shower. It fucked me up. Fucked me up good. I rested, but I didn't have a shower. You know? And that really fucked me up. And it's not like I was having these showers and like doing a deep clean on my body. It was just the water and the air that I think really made the difference. Yeah, I mean, realizing that you are not your thoughts is big. I haven't really reached that point yet, though. It's not easy letting go of that voice. It's not easy for anyone, bro. I mean, don't get into the position where you think that it's easy for everybody. It's not easy for anybody, I think. Maybe dudes work their whole lives to let go of that voice. But it's definitely not an easy task. It's definitely not an easy task. I mean, it's more liberating to realize that you're listening to the voice in your head versus you are the voice in your head. How much were you sleeping? Matt, I was sleeping quite a lot. I think that's a bit of a misconception from the feedback I got from the race. I think people thought I was sleeping a lot less than what I was. I was sleeping quite a lot. I was probably sleeping too much, dude, to be honest with you. And I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm just trying to give an accurate representation of what happened. I was sleeping quite a lot. Well, I was resting quite a lot too. Like, there was a few nights I didn't sleep a lot. For sure, man. Like, I had a few nights in between Adelaide and Melbourne where my sleep was 3 hours a night, which for me is too little. And I definitely paid the price. I mean, I had to have a nap once on the way to Melbourne, just outside of Apollo Bay, on a bench, just because I was losing it, man. I couldn't see. And I was on that borderline of losing it again when I was coming really into Melbourne in terms of just like going a bit crazy, which is enjoyable, but it becomes a bit energy draining at the end. But I also had nights where I slept quite a lot more. I had nights where I slept 5 hours. I would say on average I slept 4 hours, man. The quality of the sleep is not really that high. It's just enough to sustain your fucking life. If anything, I'd wake up in a heap of sweat, hot, But it wasn't like 1 hour a night. I never did 1 hour a night. I mean, there's a few nights I went through the night. But when I went to sleep, I tried to sleep for a few hours. I was conscious, at least for me, that I was like, my attack was sleep more and then be quicker versus sleep less and be slow. I'm more than willing to not sit down and have a 3-course meal twice a day in trade to have an extra hour of sleep. So I was more focused on riding fast, trying to be more efficient with my stops, and sleep a bit more. Like, rest. When I rest, like, actually rest, man. Like, have a shower, sit on your phone, lay back, normalize. Normalize. You know what I mean? Normalize. That was big for me. Try and normalize. Make it seem like, oh, yo, I'm just at home. Shouts to the Deliveroo. I slept in beds, man. I mean, I used my bivvy twice. So I had 3 naps. I had 1 nap in Apollo Bay, where I slept on a bench. I had 1 nap on the way to this place called Walwa, towards the base of Kosciuszko National Park. I slept in a graveyard, in the front of a graveyard. I know it sounds fucked up, but there was a shelter, and it was in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I was going to this town, and I was like, dude, hopefully this town has a fucking public toilet I can sleep in. It had no public toilets. I was literally in the middle of just like beautiful country, but no. So they had this shelter for this graveyard. I slept there in the bivvy. And then on the last night, I was going through Sydney National Park, and I was fucking out of it, dude. Like, I mean, I was struggling. Not in terms of, the fatigue had just caught up with me so bad, man. Like, I just really couldn't keep it together. Not in terms of, oh, I can't do this no more, but just in terms of, like, fucking physically being able to stay awake. I was like, I had a 20-minute nap, and it revitalized the fuck out of me. Just on the side of the road. Did you feel rested after a 4-hour? I didn't feel rested, man. I mean, you feel a bit better. I mean, you kind of feel, it's the same, for me at least. I would wake up and my body would feel terrible. My body only felt okay like the last 2 days, to be honest with you, in terms of waking up and feeling like I could fucking walk. Like literally the last 3 days is like the days where I woke up and I could walk. But for the first whatever 9 days or whatever, 8 days or whatever, oh man, it was brutal waking up in terms of just the stiffness and the pain, physical pain. But it's just one of those things. So you just have faith in the process of just, you know, if you can bring yourself to put your shoes on, waddle your way down to the gas station, eat some food, drink a coffee. You know that in 3 or 4 hours, like you're going to be like, oh, you're going to be 50, 60K down the road and you're going to be thinking like, I think this might be possible, you know? So it's not like you wake up feeling good. I think once your body knows what it's doing, man, and it kind of switches into that, it feels like you switch into fight or flight for 2 weeks, man, in terms of you wake up feeling like, even though you feel a bit wrecked, you're alert. You're alert, more alert than you would be if you had an 8-hour sleep and woke up. I spent 90% of the night in bivvy freezing outside, definitely had less 50% stop time in sleep. I think it's, you know, Stefan, shout out to you, brother. You know, for most people, I'd recommend staying at hotels, man. It depends what you want to do. I mean, some people want to, I think if you're trying to maximize your speed, I think sleeping in a hotel is one of the better things you can do. Obviously, having a bivvy when you need it, I think having a bivvy is crucial because there's going to be times unexpectedly where you need a rest. I don't think it works out. I don't think it would work out every time like you would expect, where it's just like you have the strength to hold on. But sometimes you just don't have the strength to hold on, and you need a fucking rest, man. And that's what you need to do, and you can't really put that off, otherwise you will die. But just in terms of the amount of gear you need to take, just in terms of charging, just in terms of routine, I like the idea of a hotel. You can go there, you can charge everything up. You don't need to take fucking crazy amount of battery packs because you know that you're always going to be charging shit. It's not like you need to be in the hotel within every 24-hour period. But just knowing that after big blocks of riding that there's going to be a hotel there for you where you can charge and shit is crucial, I think. I'm not too experienced, but I would assume that it's the same. How does a hotel work if you want to get there late? Okay, I'll give you an example, bro. When I was on the way to Baladonia, it was going to shut at like 10 p.m. It was going to shut at 10 p.m. What I did is I called them like 2 hours, 3 hours before I rocked up. And this isn't cheating because everyone has this available to call a fucking motel. I called them and I asked them if they had a room available. They said they did. I explained the situation to them and said, yo, dude, I'm rocking up to Baladonia. I mean, I'm riding there. I still need like 4 hours. You're going to be shut. And he was like, I was like, I paid for it. And he's just like, yeah, I'll leave the key in the door. I'll leave the key inside. So I just rolled up, the key was inside, just went in there, dude. I was treated great at hotels. I was rocking up at weird times. I mean, a few times I woke up in the morning, but it was smooth, man. Just got the key, went to the room. I had no issues. How does a hotel work if you want to get there? I already answered that. Hey, sorry. On average, how much percentage of the max did you give during the race? I gave it everything, man. I gave it everything. Now, giving it everything doesn't necessarily look like you need to have a 185 heart rate, but I think I gave it everything I had at the time. There was definitely times where I was giving it a lot. And I fucking mean, like, you won't be able to believe. It's hard to put into words. And there's not even a point in trying to put to words. But it was a lot. I mean, there was times it felt like you were fucking going next level, dude. Like, where the challenge was extreme. I didn't expect some moments to be that challenging. I really didn't. I really didn't expect some moments to be that challenging. But some of them really exceeded my expectations in terms of how challenging they were. And to match them was, to rise to the challenge was difficult. But that's the job. I mean, that's the whole point of the race, you know what I mean? And those moments are the most crucial moments. I think for anybody doing the race or the ride, whatever you want to call it, they're the most crucial moments, is when shit hits the fan. And I think they're the most exciting moments too, is when, not shit hits the fan as in, oh my God, my bike's fucked, everything's fucked up. I mean, shit hits the fan as in, you know, like, it just gets so fucking hard. And you have to find some way to rise to the occasion. That's the most exciting bit, man. And it really, I think that's, in terms of your personal experience, that's the most important. In terms of a strategic move during a ride, they're the most important moments, man. And it's never just happening to you by yourself. I mean, everyone's having these moments where the challenge is just overwhelmingly difficult and they're faced with such a epic thing, you know, such a hard challenge to go through. It happens to everybody. So you're definitely not alone. But it really separates the field, man. You know? And it can be very overwhelming. It can be very overwhelming, man. I can't describe to you what it's like to be going up a fucking mountain or something, and then to know and to be in such, you know, not despair, but in such a to be in such a challenging moment and know that you literally have another 15 hours of this minimum. Dealing with that can be quite, I mean, it's easy to a certain degree, but it's something you have to experience. Something you have to experience is being faced with such a challenge, and then in the back of your mind knowing that this isn't going to end for a long bit of time. You have to really become comfortable with the idea of just, I don't know, taking it pedal by pedal, man. And not really wishing it to go any quicker than it is. Just almost being grateful that you have the strength to rise to the challenge, and that's all, at least for me, that's what I'd focus on, is that even when it did get extremely challenging, I would remind myself that it's a nice position to be in, to be able to meet this challenge eye to eye and be okay with it, and say, you know, like, I'd be like, how many people really get to be in this opportunity when you're like on the fucking limit after like 13 days and you're on your 14th hour in this 13th day and it's just getting absolutely fucking heinous. I mean, that's a nice spot to be in physically. Yeah, that's a great question. Was there a building day after it? Was there a confidence building effect after so many tough days in terms of confidence? Yeah, that's a great, and there was definitely, for sure, there was. Because sometimes shit just seems unbelievable. You don't really need to believe in it all the time. You just need to go. I mean, your belief can easily, you can have the most strong belief, but if that can get challenged. Your belief can get challenged, and it can be on the fence sometimes. But the main thing is that you go. And then once you realize this process of just everything, if you go, if you keep going, most of the time it works out. You know what I mean? Once you realize that, then you have faith in it, in the fact that if it's just challenging and it seems like it's never ending and it seems like an extremely insurmountable task, all you have to do is one more revolution of the pedal, and then one more revolution of the pedal, one more revolution of the pedal, and it works itself out. 10 times, 9.5 times out of 10, it works itself out. And you just have faith in that process. And just have faith in your own strength, like that you're a strong person. And you're like almost the perfect person to be in that situation right now. You know what I mean? You know, you're kind of blessed that you have the strength to be able to deal with it. Because a lot of people can't deal with it, man. A lot of people wouldn't be able to deal with it. But luckily for you, you have the strength to be able to deal with the current situation, which is a great strength to have. All right, last question, and then I'm going to cruise. What did you enjoy most about the race? The thing I enjoyed most about the race was just the interaction between the people who were following the race. I just enjoy all the human interaction, man, and lack of, to be honest with you. I enjoy the time by myself. I enjoy the challenge of being isolated, even though, you know, sometimes I feel more isolated in daily life than I do feel out in the Nullarbor. I think it's, and that's the truth though, because when you're out there, dude, you get stripped so raw that you get stripped to the point where you feel, you know, you forget your own name, dude. You forget what you look like, and something special happens at that point where you forget what you look like and you forget your own name. You almost blend in and become a part of the greater. And what I mean by the greater is you become a part of everything and everything becomes a part of you. So the sunset looks more vivid. You feel more connected to everything and less separated. So there is an element of isolation, but there's also an element of connectedness that only being removed from your current situation and being isolated for a while can bring on. And that's what's so enjoyable, is that everything becomes more sensitized and you feel a part of a sense of bigger wheels turning. You feel a part of that. You really do feel a part of that. And that lends itself too to the connection you feel to other people racing the event. You know, at times I felt more concerned about other people riding up than me. Like, you'd be riding up a hill and you'd be thinking like, I hope the other people are strong enough to go up this hill. I know it sounds like you wouldn't believe that, but you do, because you feel more connected to everyone else and you feel attached to the people doing the race, because you know it's a tough thing. And then also just the connection between the people doing the race and the people who are watching the race, because it means a lot to them. You know, obviously it means a lot to yourself, and you know, it means a lot to your family, and for someone to show so much interest in what you're doing is real uplifting. And rarely do you experience that level of connection just walking down the street, where randoms are going to fucking stop you, take a fucking photo, and be amazed by the effort, you know. So I love that, and I love what it does to you, at least mentally, in the sense that I love how it removes you from the situation. You almost feel like it's one of those brief situations where you're riding for something more than yourself. And that's rare, to find yourself doing something so taxing where you're not the core driving factor in terms of, I'm trying to be cool, I'm trying to do it for myself, I'm trying to achieve greatness in terms of this athletic event. You really do feel like you're riding for everybody. And that's very special to feel that it's not about you no more. Like, I would love to stop, but it's not about me no more. It just isn't, you know, because it means a lot to the people, man, seeing the performance like that. I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about for everybody. So shouts to all of you anyway. I got to end the stream because my phone's about to die. Have a great day. Shouts to everybody who supported the channel this week by buying a t-shirt. It helped. You know, I got to enjoy my weekend, relax, do a few live streams. And I appreciate it. Shouts to everybody, period, regardless of anything. And I hope you have a great weekend wherever you are in the world. Shouts to you, Stefan. I'll talk to you soon, brother. Have a good one.